one of the things that many people in my audience might be concerned about is um, accidentally validating or otherwise seeming like they are approving of somebody's hateful rhetoric or otherwise negative actions and behaviors. But also, there's that difficult piece where it's like, yeah, how do we move people from point A to point B? And so the way that I had framed it was like, we need to show empathy to young white men to prevent them from falling down the alt right pipeline. And a lot of people were upset with that because it implied that I was asking women or specifically minorities to take on the labor
Mhm.
that was the responsibility of white men in particular. And I hadn't seen that because I come from it from the lens of a teacher. And so, like, my education as a teacher was like making sure that we're always providing safe and vulnerable opportunities for our students to open up and feel safe with us. So I'm always vulnerable with my students. And so I'm struggling with that in so much that it's different when I'm in the classroom with a bunch of 16-year-old boys and I can talk to them and I can kind of bring them towards the center. But when we have these conversations, whether it's online or in person in public, it becomes a whole different ball game. So, do you have any advice for how we can kind of navigate this in a way where we are bringing people in without seemingly validating their hate while still understanding where they're coming from?
Well, I think, the first thing I always say is that empathy is not absolution. So, look, there's going to be not the problem is we see ourselves as, okay, I'm an individual and I don't like what this person is doing, or disagree with this scenario. But the reality is, I always say we need to start with ourselves, right? And we need to understand, why am I reacting this way? We need to understand. So, I would take a step back and say, I always say, before we can help others, we have to help ourselves. And
Put on your
the
own life air mask type thing, right? Like,
exactly, because part of the problem I see is we're so ready to jump on people on social media, and I see that all the time, right? It's in a sense, the algorithms and everything are designed to get us, for outrage. And I think for me, part of the reason I wrote this book, and I started thinking about it long before I got very much involved in social media, was that I realized that I had to, especially understanding the way that I was raised and how my parents had bias, right? And that, I often had, struggles with reaching out to people, even other Black people, because of the way I was raised, right? And so, I always say that, take that step back and understand where you're coming from. And I really try to take that few seconds, I see something and I want to respond. So it's like, why am I, where is this anger coming from? Why am I responding this way? And understanding myself has made it so much easier for me to be more open. I'm not saying you have to like and, you know, say, oh, you're okay, pat somebody on the head. No, it's that I need to be able to understand myself, to understand the experiences of others, and be open to the experiences of others.